The following is a presentation from PokerStars.com. Last week on the big game, loose cannon Russ Harlow was staked $100,000 to sit with some of the top names in the game. For a while, things didn't look good for our loose cannon.
What a bad bet by me.
But with just 5 hands left, Russ flopped trips. Veldhuis made a critical mistake.
I'm all in.
That's sick.
And Harlow ended the game up over $16,000.
So brutal. What a day.
Veldhuis just doubles him up, no problem.
But the loose cannon had one big decision still left to make.
You can either keep those winnings or come back next week for the chance to increase that stack.
I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna try to make a big payday.
See if Russ prospers or regrets his decision next on the big game.
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Hello and welcome once again to the big game from Las Vegas. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose, and tonight with over $700,000 in cash on the table, some of the best in the world have come to battle here in our state-of-the-art poker room.
In seat 2 is the living legend of poker himself, the godfather of poker, Doyle Brunson. Tonight, he's in for $100,000.
The pride of the Amsterdam internet kids, Lex Veldhuis is also in for $100,000.
There goes my hero. After crushing the table on his last big game appearance, Justin Bonomo is back and is also in for $100 large.
Barry Greenstein, a.k.a. the Bear, or as I think of him, Captain Continuation Bet, has $100,000 in front of him as well.
Fan favorite Daniel Negreanu flexes his deep Canadian pockets and opts to buy in for $200,000 US.
The 6 players are loose cannon Russ Harlow. Last week, the 39-year-old father of 3 was staked $100,000 to play and turned a small profit. So he'll begin with over $116,000 in cash here tonight. He's with Amanda Leatherman.
Russ, you decided to take those winnings and come back for more this week. Look at that table. What were you thinking?
I was thinking you guys couldn't throw a tougher table at me than I faced last time, and now you're gonna throw me at these guys. Now I'm questioning myself just a little bit.
You have any regrets at all?
No regrets. It's gonna be big. Go big or go home still.
All right, good luck today.
Thanks.
Once again, each cannon's been staked $100,000, and in Russ's case, his previous week's winnings as well. Cannons keep all winnings above the initial $100K, and the loose cannon who's won the most money at season's end earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000.
How's it going, my man?
Doing well, thank you.
And this is our current leader in the race to win that NAPT passport. Nadia Magnus walked away with over $63,000. Russ is here to take another shot at passing her.
The danger, if he finishes with under $100,000 after 150 hands, he walks with nothing.
So you're coming back for another go, huh?
Might as well.
You fit right in. You're a gambolero.
Might as well. All my
This
brothers.
game might be a little different than the one you played with Tony G and Phil.
It is gonna be a little bit different.
Yes, less bleeping already.
Although I can still try to pick on the 6th seat.
Pick on the 6th seat? That works really well. Oh, you starting with the needles already? What?
Justin Bonomo wins our first hand.
Who was the 6th seat last time?
Phil Hellmuth.
Veldhuis.
Complaining. He's like, who picks these seats?
Yeah, at the end, afterwards, he did complain a little bit about that.
Who picks these damn seats? Because that's his number.
He said he wanted to be there.
What?
He said he wanted to be there during the draw next
Right,
time.
to make sure that he can draw himself.
Yeah.
He played pretty crazy in the first
I
session.
want to know which Daniel Negreanu is playing now.
It depends.
Is it the small ball?
It depends if I'm stuck or not.
The guy that won $12 million in tournaments? Or is it the new internet?
The new internet, I've been killing it.
I know.
I've been killing it, so we're going to see. I might just do a little squeeze play right here.
You like the 3 and 4
3 and 4 bets?
instead of the small ball? I just want to know.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It just depends how stuck I am. Start with a call.
That depends on all of us.
Raised by Bonomo, called by Barry and Daniel. Cannon's out. Doyle calls.
Doyle's defend is pretty loose, but it's a standard sort of loose. A lot of players don't like folding with this many players in the pot.
The flop, 7-9 jack, 2 hearts. Doyle flops a straight and checks.
Doyle's checked the nuts. Meanwhile, Bonomo flops top pair on a board that's wetter than the Bellagio fountains.
And fires 4,500. Barry folds.
Okay.
Daniel folds.
Everybody start with 100? I guess I better get my cards over here.
Russ Harlow actually started with 116K. Daniel with 200 grand.
Doyle's trying to figure out how strong a hand Justin would bet with and if it's strong enough to withstand a raise.
Doyle raises to 19.5.
That's one of those, eat some of that.
Doyle's asking Justin if he's down with OTT.
That stands for over the top, right?
You got it. Justin does have outs to the bigger nuts, but it would take runner, so this may have put a monkey wrench in Justin's plans. He probably has a pretty good idea Doyle's not making a play.
Bonomo folds top pair.
Nice hand, Doyle.
Awfully early yet.
Well, before it gets too late, why don't we go over the rules of the big game? Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then becomes no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. Every player begins with at least 100K, but can reload for up to $500,000.
So what made you decide to come back?
It's just an opportunity of a lifetime.
It's greed. It's called greed.
that didn't hurt.
So did you know what you were going to do before? Did you have like a spreadsheet and everything figured out?
Yeah, I think we had some ideas.
Some ideas or like exactly?
No, it wasn't exactly. It was just, we had a little bit of a game plan.
Harlow
You have a
folds.
target number in mind?
Not today. Yesterday I had a
Today you're
target
gonna
to
try
walk
pass
away.
Nadia, right?
Now, yeah, that'd be great.
So then you get the passport. She won like 63. So you just all you gotta do is win 40.
Piece of cake, right?
40-ish.
Against you guys?
40, 50,000.
But there's still more loose cannons to play, so that number's got to hold
Right.
still.
Yeah.
It's not.
What did you make it?
Tried to make it 4,500, by the way.
Go easy on him. It's only his third time on the show. Doyle, we are pot limit pre-flop.
Barry re-raises to 6 grand. Pocket kings for Daniel.
I'd expect to see a 4-bet here typically.
Nope, just calls.
Was that just for TV time, or you really got,
Yeah, this is for TV time.
you got that tough a hand?
I was confused. I have a very good hand.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Doyle's not getting the right odds, but he is in position.
And calls.
I think by not raising, Daniel was hoping to not chase everyone out, but now he's got to play kings against 2 opponents.
The flop, queen deuce tray, top pair for Barry.
This is exactly the kind of flop Daniel wanted.
Greenstein fires 10 grand.
Barry and Doyle both have a piece, and Barry's piece is big enough to lose him a lot of money.
Daniel just calls. And Doyle calls with middle pair.
Even with a piece of this flop, that's a pretty loose call from Doyle.
Unless you get trips on the turn. Barry checks.
Barry's now got the nut flush draw. Daniel will have no idea someone hit this 3.
This is fun. Right off the bat, I have no idea what to do.
He knows with this many players along for the ride, his kings are very susceptible.
I check.
Daniel checks.
I don't know if Doyle used instinct, intuition, or got incredibly lucky, but he has both of these guys in bad shape. If Barry and Daniel were checking to trap, they are in trouble.
Doyle bets 21,000.
Something tells me Barry doesn't like this bet, but in this spot, he's going to have the best hand a fair percentage of the time, and with the nut flush draw, he's even less likely to be drawing dead.
Very little hesitation move, but he calls.
Daniel can't really like that bet either, or the call from Barry. He's right to think about this hand, but I don't see how he could get away from it, even if his spidey sense is going off. Like Barry, he's just not going to be beat very often in this spot. Having to make this decision is one of the pitfalls of slow playing big pairs pre-flop.
Daniel calls. The river. 4 of diamonds giving Barry a flush.
Barry called the turn hoping to hit a diamond. Let's see if he still likes it.
All in.
He does. Barry's all in.
Those are pretty much the kings of comedy at this point.
Daniel folds.
That's a card I didn't want to see.
I don't really see Barry making this play without a flush or a full house.
I call it.
Doyle calls and sees the bad news.
That's what I was afraid of.
You turned to 3, Doyle? If I raised the flop, I would have lost the whole thing.
Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere.
No, I had you.
You had me beat?
Uh-huh.
Jeez, you gotta be kidding.
It's the story of my life lately.
Barry Greenstein rakes in a pot worth more than $250,000. And don't forget to pick up his new book, 4 of Diamonds on the River.
That was a fun hand.
More from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas in the big game. Tonight's loose cannon is a 39-year-old father of 3 who drives a truck delivering donuts for a living. This former Army sergeant decided not to play it safe and is back to take another shot at the pros.
What's it gonna be?
This is the big game. And I came to go big.
Yeah?
I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna try to earn that passport, and I'm gonna try to make a big payday.
Coming back.
Absolutely. I decided to come back because it's a chance of a lifetime, and I've been given a kind of a next opportunity. $16,000 is a lot of money to a lot of folks, and it is to us. But the fact is, it could be a lot more, or I could still go bust.
We had already talked about it, and he said that depending on how much he had made, then he was definitely going to come back, because we came here with nothing, and he'll probably never have this opportunity again to be able to do this.
And playing is just it's a gas. It's a really great experience sitting down with these guys and competing.
People have risked far more to play with the likes of these guys, though. With this lineup, I'd like his chances better if he went outside and put it on black.
But kudos to Russ. He is the first loose cannon in big game history to risk his profits and play a second week.
I'm gonna throw another 100 on.
Kid Poker reloads.
Well, who are you trying to cover?
You. I mean, I got a position on you. Of course I'm gonna have to get some more money.
Yeah, me too. 100.
As does Big Papa.
I get no respect. I win a pot and everyone buys Sherry covered.
Everybody wants to have enough money to bust you.
By making sure he's got enough to bust Barry, Daniel gives himself better implied odds when they're in a pot. In layman's terms, the more money you have in front of you, the more you can win.
Daniel with a nice starting hand on the button. Raised to 1,200. 6-4 suited for the cannon.
I'd say that's probably only slightly ahead of Daniel's button range.
Calls. Doyle folds.
Me and the donut man. You make vegan donuts? Or just always without a bunch of cream and stuff? Huh?
I don't make anything.
Yeah, you don't make any of them. You just...
The cannon flops top pair and a gut shot and checks.
Russ doesn't make donuts, he delivers them, and he's probably at a union, so you better watch what you says.
Daniel fires 2,200.
Russ should stick around here for sure. If you're going to call with this hand, this is about as good a flop as you could hope for. Raising is risky because you can get 3-bet, and there are a lot of good cards that can come off on the turn without having to pay too much for one.
There's the call. The turn. Daniel hits top pair.
That is not one of those good cards.
Action on Russ. Who bets?
5,000? That's a lot of what did you... Never mind.
A lot of donuts?
I was thinking that.
Russ is in a really bad spot to try to fire again. We know Daniel's not laying this down.
Daniel just calls. The river, Queen of Hearts.
Check.
Russ checks.
That's a pretty good board for top pair. Daniel's likely confident about his hand.
$20,000.
Negreanu fires 20 grand.
That's an overbet. Daniel's hoping Russ will deliver some value here, but he's made it a pretty expensive trip for someone to call with just third pair. Still, Russ seems torn. He must be wondering if Daniel's made this overbet to try to buy it.
You want to know what my range is right here? You want to know?
92 cards?
No, I'll tell you. It's 7-9 of spades is one. No, I wouldn't. I would raise you with a set on the turn.
Russ folds.
Ace king. That's it, I guess.
That's it?
Yeah, no, there's other stuff.
Russ folded mid-speech.
That's him.
It's a good fold.
Just don't like laying down a pair.
Oh, you had a pair? Not an ace, huh?
Joe, what have we learned so far about Russ?
Well, this is pretty fun because for the first time we have 150 hand prior history on a cannon. So when we combine all of his stats, we can see that Russ doesn't play scared. And when he does turn his cards over, he's scooping the pot 3/4 of the time.
Oh, that might explain his wry little smile. Action on Bonomo, who folds. Jack-9 for Barry. Raises to 1,400. 7-4 suited for Daniel.
Oh, this is right in Daniel's wheelhouse.
Calls. Russ on the button. Folds. Doyle will not fold.
Now it's Doyle's turn with a big pocket pair.
Raise the pot.
Doyle raises to 6,600. Lex folds, so does Barry.
66 is the total, right? So I owe 52, right?
I just wanted to put Barry on tilt.
I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood too.
You're in the mood. And you bought another 100, right? I got something to win if I hit.
Daniel calls.
It was no surprise that the two guys I was against came after me the next hand.
Daniel looking to snap Doyle's big pair off.
10-7-10. Daniel does hit bottom pair.
Safe board for Doyle, and it could be trouble for Daniel. He may have caught himself a costly piece of it.
18.
Doyle bets 18,000.
We're early in the game, and Daniel knows Doyle is already stuck nearly 100 grand. He might think Doyle's steaming with this bet.
Daniel calls.
Daniel is obviously still not convinced Doyle has a bigger pair. Could get himself in some real trouble here.
The turn, the 5 of clubs.
Neither player improves. Doyle's still got the best hand. The 5 wouldn't have changed much, so if Doyle liked his hand on the flop, he should still like it now.
Guess I just got enough for one bet.
Doyle shoves.
This is a pretty big bet for Daniel to think his 7 is good.
Every time I watch, Doyle always has kings.
Close.
Doyle always has kings. I don't feel like you have kings, though.
You are 100% correct.
Could be drawing completely dead, right, if you have a 10?
Daniel's not drawing dead, but it's more likely your marriage will end in divorce than Daniel will catch up here. There's only 1 7 left in the deck.
Got the Doyle Brunson hand, the 10 deuce. Some smells about this hand.
Look, I think Russ smells it too.
Everything leads me to believe that I should never fold here for some stupid reason.
Doyle probably knows that Daniel has a tendency to make hero calls. This hero call could earn Doyle a new Cadillac.
Just shipped it like that.
Doyle shove is a big giveaway to the strength of his hand. He doesn't really have any draws to protect against, and a 10 had him beat from the flop.
Yeah. I like Doyle either way, right? So if I win the money, I'll be happy because I've won. And if I lose, it goes to a good guy. It's like a win-win situation. The only thing I can do if it would be bad is fold, get bluffed, feel stupid. So I'll just call it.
Daniel calls.
You got anything? Oh, that's good. Yeah, I just have a 7. Okay. I have 2 outs.
No, just 1. Justin folded a 7.
You'll deal once or twice or 3
I do
times?
twice. It's
Whatever
fine.
you want. I don't care.
2 is good for me.
All right. Deal it twice. Maybe we can split it. Maybe I'll get a split.
Maybe you'll get a split. And you get a lot of big pairs. I was thinking, how many can you get?
The first run for half is a queen.
The 6 tray last time.
What's that?
That blocky last time.
Brunson wins the first run worth nearly 112 grand.
Apparently Daniel had me beat.
Second run is a king.
Oops.
Nice hand.
Doyle takes them both, and Daniel's in a free fall.
I play small ball.
See that?
Looks more like A-Rod than David Eckstein. Doyle hitting them over the fences. Will he continue to round the bases? Find out when we come back. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game, where Barry Greenstein's off to a great start here through the first 9 hands. He's up over 133 grand.
And with Doyle's recent double up through Daniel, he's now showing a profit. While nothing seems to be going Daniel's way so far, he's stuck over 144K. And we're just about to play hand number 10 of a 150-hand session.
By the way, both Daniel and Doyle have already reloaded for 100 grand apiece.
It's been too early to go home.
If Doyle Brunson tries to get you to stay in the game, he may like you, but it's not a compliment to your poker.
Barry folds, Daniel's out. Ace-8 suited for the loose cannon. Raised to 1,400. Doyle, 10-9 on the button. Folds. Lex, Ace-Jack suited.
Let's see if he wants to repop the cannon who's in position.
Chris.
Too many sharpshooters behind me.
He does to 5,100. King-Queen suited for Bonomo.
Doyle knows just how aggressive these Utes can be.
These 2 Utes. There's a call by Bonomo. And a call by Harlow.
Russ might like his pot odds now that there's 3 players in the hand.
The flop, 10-7-9. Lex is still best. He's also picked up a gut shot. And fires 8,600.
Justin's got an even bigger gut shot and 2 overs to go with it, but his pairs do make other gut shots.
Bonomo calls.
Russ is open-ended.
Raise.
That was quick.
Insta-fold by Lex.
That's because this line is going to look very strong coming from the amateur. He took all the heat pre-flop and then just fired into a bet and a call on the flop.
So now decision time for Bonomo, who folds.
Too much?
Well, I had absolutely nothing, so.
Bonomo was drawing 2, so Harlow's semi-bluff raise worked perfectly there. A very savvy bet by the amateur.
Russ is now up 35 grand, and his bold decision to come back for another week is also looking pretty savvy so far, as Bonomo contemplates where he went wrong. Mood lighting, please. Yes.
Did you know this game takes place inside a giant Simon machine?
You know Doyle didn't know who Bob Marley was?
Yeah, I know. I read his Twitter.
He didn't know Bob. He says, "Who's this Bob Marley cat?"
Do you know who Red Foley was?
Red Foley?
Yeah.
No.
You don't know him. I can't
Well,
believe it.
Nice. I bet you if you ask random people Red Foley or Bob Marley, more people will have heard of Bob
Because they're
Marley.
only like
Ask
7.
them, somebody over 70
That's
years
right.
old, you got a bet.
Over 70 years old?
Yeah.
From Texas?
No.
Right? Like,
No, Nashville.
Bonomo raises.
we'll go to Jamaica. How's that? Well, we'll go to Jamaica and ask if they know who Red Foley is or Bob Marley.
That's Harry Belafonte.
Seems fair.
Barry repops,
There are only 7 people on the planet older than Doyle, so.
and then verbally pops Doyle.
Like Red Foley. Have you heard
You're
of Red
gonna run
Foley?
into.
And Junior.
And Junior.
2 to the flop,
Junior was better than
Bonomo dominated.
6-Jack-5.
Junior is a reggae guy as well, by the way.
Hank Williams Jr.?
No, just Junior.
Just Junior.
Junior. He goes by Junior.
Junior.
As an artist on the street.
Barry bets 6 grand.
It's kind of like Gentleman.
Bob Marley. What is that stuff he does? Ragu or
He does ragu. He said.
What
Bob
is
Marley
it?
sings that
Reggae?
ragu stuff.
Reggae is what Doyle puts on pasta.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did listen to it. It
He
was
didn't mind
good.
Bob Marley. He said it's better than that new stuff they got.
You know, that new stuff, like the Beatles.
Lil Wayne.
Barry's behind now and
Down,
checks.
Skeet, 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 skeet.
Am I supposed to know who Little Wayne
No.
is? Okay.
Bonomo with second pair and the nut flush draw. Checks.
You remember Pat Boone or?
I've heard of him.
7 on the river. Barry checks.
Justin has the best hand, but he may not be able to get any value on this board.
Bonomo checks.
Justin not happy to show that one, but Barry's probably less happy.
There you go. 8 speed. Nothing.
First hand.
As Bob Marley would say, every little thing's gonna be all right. Justin Bonomo takes down a nice-sized pot with 23 grand in it. The big game is just getting going. Much more from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back to the big game. To see all this game's stats and material deemed too hot for TV, visit us online. Well, Doyle's sitting pretty after a rocky start. He's currently up over 22 grand. That's because Daniel Negreanu made a questionable call to a big shove by Doyle. Why'd he do that? Well, let's find out as we go behind the poker face.
Well, in this game, everybody kind of has a pretty good idea of how everyone thinks, so it becomes sort of like, you know, he knows that I know kind of thing. And the hand against Doyle sort of ended up being like that. Barry Greenstein raised, and I called the 7-4 clubs. And then Doyle raised from the small blind, and he hardly ever does that. But I knew that he was coming in with sort of like a new focus. You know, he knows that everyone sees him playing tight on TV, so he's going to come in here and, you know, maybe be a little more ram and jam. So he raised the pot, and I called because I was in position. So now the flop comes 10-10-7. I've got the bottom pair with sevens, and Doyle bets 18,000, pretty sizable. And I feel like I pretty much have to call him here and see what he does on the turn. So I call, and the turn card comes nothing. It's like a 5, and all of a sudden he just goes, well, I'm all in.
Guess I just got enough for one bet.
And I thought to myself, I mean, it's weird. It's probably not good, but I thought, Doyle always seems to have a big pair. Every time I watch, Doyle always has kings. You know, he has aces, kings all the time, but I thought if he had one of those hands, he'd probably check, or maybe he'd bet a little bit less. So when he bet that much, it felt like maybe he was using his reputation as being such a really tight, solid player to try to bluff me. It smells about this hand. We played recently in some tournaments and things like that, and he's noticed that I folded to him on the turn after he's bet the flop. So it really was based on history, in the fact that I thought Doyle was thinking that I was thinking that if he bet the turn, he'd have it. So it was really just one of those things where it's like, he knows that I know that he knows that I know. And I thought that Doyle might try to just push me off a hand there and bluff it. The only thing I can do would be bad is fold, get bluffed, feel stupid. So I'll just call it. You got anything? I was wrong, he had aces again, but I'm okay with the call.
Daniel made the call on that hand with a pair of sevens on a paired board and doubled up Doyle. And Doyle pulled off what the internet kids call a level, which is also what it did to Daniel's stack.
Tony's the one who took the hit.
Lex folds. Justin as well.
Also been 1 stick insurance.
Barry. Queen 8 suited.
14.
Raises to 1,400. King Jack suited for Daniel.
This is a big suited one gapper on the button. I wouldn't expect to see him fold to Barry, and we might even see a raise.
There's the raise to 4,500. Russ, 6 high, lets it go. Suited connectors for Doyle Brunson. He folds.
Not a mandatory call out of position.
About $1.50 or so.
Barry wants to make sure Daniel's got enough to make this call worthwhile.
And Barry makes the call. Heads up to the flop. 6-10 queen, 2 clubs. Barry checks top pair.
Daniel flops the World's Fair. He's got more outs than a baseball game.
Daniel bets 5,500. Barry quickly calls. 5 of hearts on the turn. Barry checks.
Daniel's whiffed completely, but you can see he's still got almost 50% equity in this hand.
$12.5.
Daniel fires 12.5 grand.
With this bet, Daniel's building his own implied odds. He could take it down right here, and even if he gets raised, he's got so much equity, he could still make the call.
Barry just calls. The river. 4 of diamonds. Greenstein checks.
Well, Daniel flopped the World's Fair, and all he ended up with was a couple of bricks that reek oddly of Carney. He knows that he probably can't win this pot by checking, and maybe he's thinking that he's built the pot enough to set himself up for a river bluff. Personally, I think it's going to be pretty tough to get Barry off his hand when no realistic draws came in on the turn or river.
Bet 32.5.
Daniel bets 32,500, and Barry calls and wins.
Big as it gets. Green's good.
Barry made that call very fast. He may have had some kind of read on Daniel.
Yeah.
Barry wins another 6-figure pot, this one worth more than 111 grand.
Yeah. I almost gave up and was like, what the hell? How can I just check that hand?
Barry Greenstein making all the right moves here tonight. Will it continue? There's only one way to find out. Stick around on the big game. Welcome back to Las Vegas, home of the big game, where Barry Greenstein, who won a huge pot earlier in the night, hasn't taken his foot off the gas. He's currently up over 176 grand, and right now he's with our Amanda Leatherman.
What's up with all the big pots?
Well, you know, that the hand that I was in, we had big hand. Well, apparently Doyle didn't have that big a hand, but, you know, I had a good hand, Daniel had a good hand. It was kind of a funny dynamic.
Do you think that you guys know each other so well that it makes you play bigger pots?
No, it was just the way it came out. You know, it just had a real big hand early, and you get some people stuck, and usually the games are hopping. You can play in a game where this is a real tough lineup.
Yeah.
But you get people stuck, you know, the game's juiced up, and you get a lot of action.
All right, well, good luck.
Thanks.
Let's take a quick visual on the stacks of our three most active players. Barry's been on the rise since hand 6 and hasn't looked back. Doyle dips early on but mounts a big comeback and levels off above the 20K profit line, while Daniel has slid down from bad to worse. He's in the rears for over 200 grand.
Well, action will begin on Barry Greenstein, who's looking at Jack 10 suited.
Barry's smiling on the inside.
Raising UTG. Daniel folds. Russ folds. Doyle calls. Lex is out. Bonomo's in.
Justin has Barry dominated, and Barry and Doyle are blocking a bunch of each other's outs.
Tray 4 king, 2 hearts on the flop. Bonomo checks top pair. Greenstein checks.
WTF, someone check Barry for a pulse. He just forgot to c-bet. There goes his perfect record. What am I going to do with this plaque and gift certificate to the Olive Garden?
Doyle bets 3,600 with nothing.
Doyle's taking a complete stab at this in position.
Bonomo calls. Barry gets a last look and folds. The turn, the 9 of spades.
Doyle's picked up no more outs.
Bonomo checks again.
Let's see if he continues to try to rep Justin's hand.
As we can see by the odds, the only way Doyle will take this one down is with a big-time bluff. And he tries, betting 10,000.
That bet is nearly pot-sized, or that bluff is, I should say. It's hard to think Doyle gained any ground with that card.
Bonomo calls. Off to the river, the 5 of diamonds. Bonomo checks the better hand.
Will Doyle fire the third barrel or raise the white flag?
This is how you do it, Daniel.
Just give up.
Flag, and Bonomo wins.
See, the only thing, oh, you had nothing too. I was going to say, like, you had a pair.
Justin Bonomo takes down a pot worth more than 32 grand.
And it's what we've come to expect from this 25-year-old phenom. Last time he played on the big game, he walked away up over $227,000.
Well, he's not exactly blowing away the field so far, but he is up 11 grand.
Yeah, but Justin was going to fold.
Action on Daniel, ace 4. Gets rid of it. Ace king for the cannon. Raises to 1,200. Pocket pair for Doyle. Calls. Lex is out. Bonomo. 7 deuce offsuit and folds, and Barry folds as well.
With 5 cards still to come, this is a race between these two.
The flop. Ace 10 deuce, 2 clubs, top pair, and the nut flush draw for the amateur.
Best flop ever for Russ, but he may not get any action.
Bets 2,000 and wins. So Brunson lays down the baby pair, and our loose cannon continues to maintain his profits at 31 grand.
Remember, Russell could have walked away from last week's game with over $16,000 in profits. Right now, coming back is looking like a pretty wise decision.
And though Russ is just 26 hands into this session, remember, if he finishes with less than 100 grand after 150 hands, he walks with nothing.
What's your favorite game?
No Limit Hold'em?
Yeah?
I don't play the other games.
You think you could beat this game?
Which person?
Just the whole game. If you sat in this game, do you think you would beat this game?
No.
No?
No. Are you crazy?
I don't believe you. I think you could.
It's really a lot less hard than you think, though.
Why didn't he ask us?
I'd give her my money.
I bet you would. Oh, you can beat me. That's pretty easy. You know how I play.
Ace Queen for the cannon.
So does Lex. He knows exactly how I play.
Raises. Doyle folds. 5 high for Lex.
I don't know if it's small ball Daniel or triple bet Daniel.
A little bit of both.
I like the old Daniel better.
Re-raises with rags.
It's nice to have both gears, though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. That's the best thing about it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Harlow calls.
You can tell what Daniel thinks of you. If he ever bluffs you, that means he thinks you don't suck.
Daniel's never tried to bluff me.
8-7-6. Open ender for Veldhuis.
Lex hasn't got much of a hand, but he could semi-bluff his draw.
Which he does, firing 6,800.
It's an insult. If I'm raising
Russ has the best hand.
And calls. The turn.
Or if you're the one guy at the table that I'm raising less than everyone else.
4 of diamonds, giving Lex a straight. But Harlow now has the nut flush draw. Veldhuis checks.
Lex is trying to trap Russ, who may just fall in with the nut flush draw.
Nope, he checks. The river. The 5 of hearts, putting a straight on board.
As long as neither player folds, this hand will end in a chop.
And Michael Thuritz, too. It was a really soft table.
Lex, the first to fire, betting 17,000.
Doing his best to make sure Russ does fold. Russ should at least think about making this call.
Nope, he folds, and Veldhuis wins the pot.
I play really bad.
No, you did not.
I have to think that maybe Russ didn't even see there was a straight out there.
I didn't need the river.
Guess that's one way of putting it.
Meanwhile, some of the loose cannon's profits floated away on that hand. Can he reclaim them? Find out when we come back on the big game.
I think the player that I would least like to have on my left is Justin Bonomo. And I think he's the type of player that can put me in a lot of tough spots because we're both aggressive players, and the guy that's sitting on the left side is usually going to end up with the money. So I don't really want to be out of position against him. And as far as the rest of the table, I don't really care.
Lex gave that interview before we drew for seats, so he managed to get bad beat even before play started.
Action begins on Daniel.
Daniel's the only guy who's truly happy with the player on his left.
Daniel folds. Queen Jack for Russ Harlow.
To his credit, Russ has played very well during his time here on the big game.
And raises to 1,200. Doyle's out. Lex re-raises to 4,000.
Lex is trying to isolate Russ again without much of a hand.
Only one problem, Bonomo's got a hand.
He's got Lex's spades nutted and Russ's jack dominated. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I didn't say anything, except that Justin calls and Barry folds.
At least I got to see the flop.
I'm trying to take his money, not yours.
Yeah.
Not sure that's all that comforting to Russ at the moment.
That's true.
So action back on Russ.
Russ is dominated.
And folds.
Lex's isolation plan has backfired.
You want to check in the dark or anything?
Nope.
Nope.
Now he's left out of position to the one guy he doesn't want to play with.
8-7 queen, 2 spades, both with a flush draw. Bonomo checks. Lex also has a gut shot, too.
Lex is behind, and he's not even the favorite, but he is the only one drawing to the nuts. The 9 of spades will make him a straight flush.
Veldhuis bets 6,700.
Can I see your chips?
No.
Justin's got the nut flush draw and 1 overcard to the board. Plus, he's ahead right now.
Bonomo raises to 18 grand.
Against most non-spade hands, Lex would have a ton of outs, As it stands, he's still got a bunch because his pairs are live.
I'm all in.
Veldhuis re-raises all in.
Lex's line actually looks pretty strong here.
All in.
He 3-bet pre-flop, so that'll help. But he's just taken a strong line against someone who's likely to think he's got 9 outs to the nuts. If you add in Lex's reputation for being a maniac, Justin might even think he could be ahead.
I call. I have a flush draw. Do you want to run it a few times?
Oh, Bonomo calls.
It's no good, right?
No, it's no good.
Wow.
It's up to you how many times you want to run it. The more the better for me.
Nut flush draw versus gut shot, straight flush draw, and pair draw. Sick.
That's not good.
Some huge pots here.
Once.
One time?
Okay, yeah. One time.
Why not?
Why not? Show some heart.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like the one hand.
That's the one.
That or ace, queen of spades, obviously.
Well, it's better than ace, 9 of spades, I guess, but...
Lex thought he wanted to see any spade. Now it's actually just one. The 9 of spades will still make him a straight flush.
The turn. The ace of diamonds.
Oh, that's not very good.
Terrible card for Lex. Kills all of his pair outs, only drawing to the gut shot now.
Can we do it twice? Can I bite running it 2 times now? How much would that cost me?
Well, I mean, yeah. We can still do the river twice if you want.
No.
Psych!
Did you like offer that just so you could say no when I said yes?
No, I just...
Is that the whole setup?
No, I meant, can I bite it? We do the whole thing again or something.
Okay.
Something like that now. Doing the river twice is silly. It's just silly. I want to just win it once. That's going to be epic, but... What am I, like 9%?
Way better than that. 11%.
Now you're 0%. Bonomo wins another monster. Everybody except our loose cannon has played a pot worth at least $200K, and Doyle's done it twice.
Nice hands.
Thank you.
Lex politely congratulates Bonomo, but I gotta think that being silly and running the river a couple more times was the way to go. 8 or 9 more times. Lex is now down 98,000, and that isn't silly at all.
Daniel's doing twice as bad. He's getting crushed and is stuck over 200,000, while Barry and Justin are sitting pretty at the top of the chart.
Loose cannon Russ is still up over 18 grand, 2K for the session.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. You guys are crazy. All these big pots. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry about that last hand, Lex.
It's all right. It was
That's
actually
brutal.
pretty exciting, but...
Exciting, not exciting for you.
Well, it would have been more epic if I hit it than when he doesn't have a flush draw because I have so many less outs.
Yeah.
But,
I actually like the outcome a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll win the next one. It's all right.
Russ, you're hanging in there?
Just trying to do it. I don't know what's going on around here.
It's getting crazy.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now. And remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. Good night, everybody.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. See you tomorrow night.
Hey, Doyle. How you doing?
Amanda, you got any money I can borrow? I just need a couple hundred. I'm stuck 200 after the first show.
If we just played 30 hands. It's
I know.
crazy.
And I'm gonna probably need like another 800,000.
The preceding was a presentation from PokerStars.com.